Men of Reddit, what do you look for in a good stick? Weight/size ratio. Too big and too light and it will break after one swing. However, when hit, it hurts like, and since you have a large size stick it can be used as a long-range melee weapon now. Too heavy but too little. It's a good projectile but it ain't doing much. So somewhere around arm size and around the weight of 2/3 Rubik's Cubes is perfect. However, you are somewhat limited with close range combat. So in the end, truly the situation matters. A comfortable diameter in my hand. Sturdy enough to take a large fraction of my weight and not break. A few inches taller than me. A bit if cordage don't I can loop my wrist through it while I walk. I can hike with it, shave it for tinder in a pinch, smack the out of uppity animals, nudge snakes to encourage them to move on, hang food bags with it, etc. Firmness, I need to bend it without it snapping. Putting about 5 to 10 pounds of pressure before using it is always essential when picking the best walking stick. Perhaps another thing that I look for in a stick is support. I want to make sure it supports me in whatever path I choose to go down. Another thing I would like in a stick is exclusivity. If I see that stick with another man, I will not pick it up. Period. If I see the stick in bed with someone else, I will take 50 to 75 gallons of gasoline and burn it until there is nothing left but ashes blowing in the wind, and #X200B. Then I will go look for another stick. This stick must be firm, and stick with me. Mid-flex for a nasty snapper, probably 80-90-ish, one-piece carbon fiber or graphite composite, medium-sized, forgiving lie, and taped heel to toe because I love a good toe drag. If you're talking about a walking stick or staff, nothing matters other than it's big enough to fight off dogs with and small enough to carry without strain. Experience, hiked a lot off-grid in many different countries. I want it to fit naturally in my hand, the perfect thickness so my hand can close around and have neither a gap or overlap. For height I like it to stand just tall enough that my hand and arm can rest naturally while holding it, basically level with my arm straight down and elbow at 90 degrees. That way I am pushing down or away as I'm walking, while also being able to use reflexively if I need it to catch my balance. Finally, the tip and grip need to be aligned, the rest of it can be crooked as long those 2 points line up. What are your opinions on mac and cheese? I keep boxed on hand just in case but I regularly make it from scratch. I've had a lot of scratch mac and cheese but never met anyone that makes it the way I do. Anyone else use cream of mushroom, shredded cheddar, not pre-shred, of course, and a little milk? I also sometimes add random condiments like ketchup or barbecue, sour cream, butter, or sometimes even things like tuna, peas, chili, hot dogs, kielbasa sausage, or just tons of veggies. Plus of course tons of black pepper and a little chili powder and tomato bouillon. My favorite is baked mac and cheese grilled cheese sandwiches. My favorite combo, jalapenos, onions, and bacon bits. Second place combo, parm, oregano, thyme, and a bit of garlic work. Third place combo, sriracha. It's good on its own. I'm European. We don't get it. It appears to be overcooked pasta in an orange vaguely tasting cheese sauce. 4 given it a couple of goes, including the very expensive ones. Hard pass for me. If I want something more tasty I'll choose baked cauliflower cheese. Now we're talking. I love mac and cheese. If it's available, I'm beelining for it. Godzilla himself could not stop me. Admittedly, I like the Kraft kind and I make it with a huge chunk of butter rather than the directions on the box. I haven't tried the other kinds, except Velveeta which is a choice, but I keep worrying they won't hit the spot as much as a cheap box of Kraft does sometimes. Delicious. Too bad it's not a thing in my country. I know a small Arabic store outside my town that sells American mac and cheese boxes that you can boil and add butter and cheese seasonings and I freaking love it. I will buy 10 boxes if I ever visit again. Too bad it's sold out sometimes. High in cholesterol and sat fats. I only eat whole grain, avoid refined carbs and cheese. Mac and cheese is a no-no for me as my goal is to lower my cholesterol. I don't do cheat meals either. If you want to live longer eat plant-based with a bit fish/pescatarian. Not a fan of refined carbs and cheese. Very high in bad fats. Is there such thing as a mac and cheese sommelier? If there isn't there needs to be and it will be my new career goal. Also, best mac and cheese I've ever tasted is at Sean O'Donnell's restaurant in Seattle, Washington. Corned beef and whiskey mac and cheese. Amazing. They have a near constant internal dialogue in their head? My problem is that sometimes I say the shot I'm thinking without filtering it. I'm much better than I used to be. Sometimes it's better to keep my opinion or judgment to myself lol. But yeah, I feel like it's constant. I just thought that's how people think. But it's not like I hear the voice out loud. It's really more just like me talking without vocalizing. Is that the same thing? Yep, I wish I would shut up. Blew my mind a while back to find out that some people don't have any inner dialogue, and some people don't see pictures in their mind. I have always had 3 voices in my head. One is me, the other Ike and the last being what I called an angry cab driver from New York who always put me down and says berating negative. I met my kid's mother's father who embodied that and haven't really heard from him since. But yeah, I can't sit in silence for too long because they get loud. Journaling helps mitigate this but I don't do it as much as I used to so my brain is very busy and I have to drown it in podcasts, video games and YouTube videos to quiet them. Yes. Always on. I'll never forget when I learned I was the up one. I thought everyone's minds always go. I thought it was normal to have 100 thoughts going st the same time. Then someone helped me see how that may be a reason why I have attention issues, sensory overload issues, anxiety in public, etc. My imagination just is always going, leaks out externally, when I'm alone and are stressed. It definitely depends on who you surround yourself with on a day-to-day basis. Certain people will spark a response in your brain like fear or pride, and your inner monologue will fluctuate. I've learned that the more you're comfy with the words in your head, especially the ones that come instinctually, the more comfortable you'll feel. Not gonna lie, it was super upsetting for me to learn that this is not the default setting for everyone. I can't even imagine not endlessly talking to myself. Sometimes it would be nice though. One side effect of it seems to be that the passage of time feels very slow compared to how most people describe it. People be like, it's almost December, and I'm like, how TF are we still in 2022? Yes, but until now I thought everyone did. My mind does not shut off, and my inner dialogue is in my voice, and I can hear other people's voices if I'm thinking of something they've said. If I close my eyes I get very clear mental images, so much so that if I think of a place I can actually feel myself in that place. They have the ability to smell different temperatures? I think this is similar to mouthfeel and quat. You don't taste the fact that a food is crunchy but you feel it, and that's sort of the same. I think nose feel applies here. We don't smell the temperature difference but we feel it in our nose, and as other commenters have said, sometimes settings, like a cool evening, do have a specific smell. But again, we aren't smelling the temperature. I'm not sure if it's the smell or just the feeling on your nostrils, but definitely can tell the difference. No, you cannot. You can use smell and other senses to tell if food is correct temperature, but you are not using smell alone. That is not how it works. I can't, but my fiancée can smell if someone has a fever, and so far has always been correct. I'll have to ask her if she can do it with food as well. The night air smells different than day. I can tell that the water in my tap finally got hot by smell, but that's about the only thing I can think of. Yes, I also do smell if something is ready when it's been in the microwave. Warm food definitely smells more inviting/softer than cold food. I do think hot food smells more intense. This does make sense because warmth causes more evaporating particles which can bind to the olfactory receptors. Logically, the warmer the food, the more particles in the air, the more you'll smell it. For me, cold food has a less intense, but a harsher/flatter smell. On a scale of 1 to tasting your feelings, how high are you right now? I feel like this is a really superpower, up there with tasting colors. Wait, I think I actually can. There is a big difference in the air when it rains, fogs, or snows that I can smell. I can also smell a difference between hot and cold weather. Didn't realize that until I read your question. What are powerful woman quotes that stick to you? A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman. But the search to find that voice can be remarkably difficult. And quote. Melinda Gates. I feel like many of us lose ourselves in the sea of what we think we should be. Don't be afraid to find that voice again. Speak up and stand up for your beliefs. Don't allow anyone to drown you out. Often father and daughter look down on mother, woman, together. They exchange meaningful glances when she misses a point. They agree that she is not bright as they are, cannot reason as they do. This collusion does not save the daughter from the mother's fate. Bonnie Burstow. That quote cut me deep, remembering how my brothers and I would joke with my dad when my mom didn't get things. Turns out he was an abusive, and my mom was just doing her best. Once in a cabinet we had to deal with the fact that there had been an outbreak of assaults on women at night. One minister suggested a curfew. Women should stay home after dark. I said, but it's the men who are attacking the women. If there's to be a curfew, let the men stay home, not the women. And quote. Golda Meir. I love this because it shows how ingrained it still is in our brains that in order to protect a part of the population, restricting their freedom is acceptable. A curfew on the attacking part would feel more unfair because not all men, but curfew on women would still be considered even nowadays. A word after a word after a word is power. Margaret Atwood. Never do things others can do and will do if there are things others cannot do or will not do. Amelia Earhart. One never notices what has been done, one can only see what remains to be done. Marie Curie. Never respond in anger. And quote. I heard Ruth Bader Ginsburg say this in one of her documentaries. I found a more full quote here. Reacting in anger or annoyance will not advance one's ability to persuade. And quote. https://www.brainyquote.com/quote/Ruth_Bader_Ginsburg_789708. For me, this quote is not about not being angry, it's about waiting for the anger or initial adrenaline rush to subside before responding. This applies to me at work when often my first reaction to a situation is anger. If I don't calm down, I'll say harsh words that do not help with the situation. Once I calm down, I can figure out what exactly I'm angry at and how I can convey that to the other side, hence actually accomplishing my goal of persuasion.